if you hit a locker early in the morning in the start of the route, how much is picked up during the day so the driver can do a last stop at the same locker. So optimizing between driving distance and capacity utilization and customer demand. I think that is something we'll be working on for the first half year, and then hopefully we'll be good at implementing it before next week.
Hello. Today we are going to talk about last mile in Norway. And my guest is Håvard Femtehjell from Posten, Norway. Hi, Håvard. How are you doing?
Hi, Andre. We're having a good winter stay here in Oslo, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's hopefully going to be an interesting year. Before going to the future, let's go to the past a little bit. How was the year for you personally, for your company, for last mile, for lockers?
For lockers, it was a good year, somewhat challenging, but we reached our goal with more than 1,000 lockers in Sweden. We made a small sort of footprint to test out the Danish market with 50 lockers. It's not a lot, but the first 50 is also getting everything running. And for Norway, we're optimizing the network. We think we have the coverage. We need to be sort of a national actor. And then we're seeking capacity, sort of where it's needed and where demand is higher than our capacity. So that's sort of the physical networks.
You have quite a different setup or good interesting setup because you are combining parcel lockers with home delivery, but not attended home delivery, but to post boxes delivering parcels. How it's going?
Yeah, we're the old mail company in Norway. So we still do the mail routes 2.5 days a week. In a couple of years, we'll probably be going 1 time a week. And we use that synergy to do packet delivery to people's mailboxes at home. And it's really taking off. But where we're coming from is an out-of-home country. Everybody went to the post offices to pick up their parcels. And we've moved that from our own good old post offices into third-party PUDOs 25 years ago. And lately we've been combining that with parcel lockers. So in a sense, you can say we have a blended out-of-home network where people choose, a lot of times, people get to choose between picking it up at the shop or at the parcel locker. Often the shop or the PUDO is still the point closest to picking up the parcel, so people use that. But I think on our latest counting, we have more than half the population is closer to a parcel locker than to a PUDO. So it's shifting. And of course, the growth.
But as I understood, you still give the customer the right to choose where will be the delivery endpoint.
Yeah, quite a lot. They can have their, it's a cooperation with the retailers. Some of them, will buy parcel lockers from companies I don't even know the names of, and then they would buy PUDOs from us, or they would buy home delivery from us and PUDOs from a different company. But for the general customers, they would give their consumers the choice to choose, and if there's not a choice, they can still have sort of their favorite with us, and then we would just route the parcels to their favorite parcel locker or PUDO, if it's not designated to a specific one.
What is the overall competitive situation in Norway with the delivery? Is it highly competed or not so highly competed in your country?
I think it is highly competitive, but it's not as sort of fragmented as you would see in Denmark and sort of the rest of continental Europe, where I think sort of the entry barriers for especially courier delivery has been very low, so you have a lot of companies. And perhaps I think you've been talking a bit about it earlier, Andre, the entry barriers also for parcel lockers have been very low, so you have a lot of different lockers and it's a bit confusing. So in Norway, I would say we're still sort of clearly the largest, but the newspapers, they have their newspaper routes, they do mailbox deliveries or doormat deliveries as well at sort of their big, but not as big as us. And then we have Post Nord, which is the Swedish and Danish post, which is established here, who are big on PUDOs and parcel lockers. Still a bit smaller than us, but still sort of big. And they have their scale in the Nordics as well. And then we have Instabox which are sort of big in Sweden. We have about the same coverage as them in Sweden. But in Norway, I would say that they are competing sort of selectively in high density urban areas.
Interesting, and Norway is a interesting country or difficult country from logistic point of view. You have very big distances and very sort of narrow country, so it's a big optimization for deliveries.
Yeah, but still the concentration is quite high near the coast. So getting to 50% coverage with home delivery or PUDOs or parcel lockers, well, honestly, that shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah.
But getting sort of a national coverage, and especially the northern parts and so on, is quite something. The parcel spend, what they spend if you do them on train from Norway, the line haul on train would be 28 hours or something like that, and then you're only halfway.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put them on the truck for the last couple of days, and then they are at the last sorting terminal.
Yeah, it's challenging, definitely. Yeah. But last year, how were the volumes? How was the peak season? Was it traditional or was it exceptional?
I think we've been sort of establishing the network for the last 5 years, so we've been running on 50% year-on-year growth. So in that sense, 2025 was sort of a slow year. And we thought, and we had some months with sort of 10% year-on-year growth or something like that. So we were thinking, okay, it's maturing, it's taking its place, but anyone who knows their math know that 10% yearly growth, that is a lot. And then it picked up in the autumn, and for peak we had a really high growth. We were in the 30s, which is sort of an unexpected growth in the peak season is quite challenging to handle. So I don't think we met all the demand, but we met a lot of it. And I think this is logistically the strength of our network, is that we always have a good PUDO, which people are used to picking up parcels from, quite close to the parcel lockers. They're not happy when you don't get it at the parcel locker you want, but still they get it the same day or with 1 day delay, and they get to pick it up within sort of the normal area they live within.
This is I see also in other markets. I see that the customers are getting more and more demanding and asking for options to whether to redirect or to change the destination or hold store it for some time. So I think this is one mega trend that the customers will be more demanding, and the network has to be more flexible and adaptable for different changes.
Yeah, and this has been a topic for quite a few years now. And I think it started with you were able to choose the delivery point in the checkout. That was the first part. It was not only sort of Posten, it was sort of you could change. And then we have, not on a really large scale, but we give people a choice to move the parcels or change the delivery up to the last sorting, because nobody is paying for sort of running after the consumer and changing it when it's en route. So the options for changing when it's left the last sorting are quite small, but changing it at the last sorting isn't very costly. So we do that quite happily.
Yeah, but I think that in the future it's going to be also possible to change it after the last sorting, but it is going to be paid service. I think that the paid services are coming also to delivery, so that customer can choose whether he afford to change his decision or not. So this is definitely also one thing I see that additional add-on services will raise.
Yeah. Probably. We've had some sort of embryos of this for quite some time. So if you had the parcel sitting at the PUDO, you could buy for €7 a home delivery, which is sort of, it's a slightly more than a little hopeless in the supply chain world, but it's not very much used. So those types of flexibility options, I view them more in the sort of area of customer support than sort of delivery options. If you see the difference, it's sort of, okay, we'll help you out. This didn't go as planned. So having those, but I don't see, especially for small economies like the Nordics, I don't see sort of the economics for doing it on a larger scale. It would be sort of small, nice add-ons.
Yeah, but what we did during the COVID time, the same thing as you described, but to together with a taxi company, so that that customers could so basically order a cab to deliver the parcel from the locker to home. And I agree, it wasn't so successful, but in a sense, if it is not, if it costs to any parties, and if this is a cooperation with a taxi company, then it can be.
Yeah. And I think I wouldn't be very surprised if companies like Foodora or Volt would sort of pick up, will help you with this as well.
Exactly. This is we did it with Bolt, so this is the same. But coming to ongoing year 2026, what are your vision on the year? What will be the volumes? What will be the technological maybe changes? What are your plans in with your network for this year?
Our plans are, I think we'll do a lot of network optimization for Norway and Sweden. Sort of, this location is working, this isn't working. Okay, we've tried this for quite some time. We'll take the lockers and use them for something better. We'll do a lot of that. And it's a lot of work. It's less work than getting new locations, but it's still time consuming. The other part, which I think we will be working on, is last mile optimization for the drivers. And we're a good company with a lot of resources, so optimizing last mile routes has been done. That sort of is a run-of-the-mill operations. Optimizing parcel locker deliveries, if you hit a locker early in the morning in the start of the route, how much is picked up during the day so the driver can do a last stop at the same locker. So optimizing between driving distance and capacity utilization and customer demand. I think that is something we'll be working on for the first half year, and then hopefully we'll be good at implementing it before next week.
Yeah, this is very interesting point, and again, I also see the same trend everywhere, that the networks has already established, or let's say 1.0 coverage is done, and now is very precise growth. Not anymore putting 100 lockers every month, but the location are very handpicked and calculated. And the other thing is working with the dwell time of the parcels being in lockers. I just released also Finnish company Pakettipiste, agnostic network in Finland. They released their dwell time top 5, and best locker has 2.5 hours average dwell time when the parcel is in the locker. And it was not the peak season reality, but it was the time from January to November. So basically, if one parcel is in average 2.5 hours in one compartment, then you can basically use 10 times one compartment in a day.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I think we see, and dwell time, I think everybody that's working with parcel lockers understand that, but not everybody else. That 10% reduced dwell time is a 10% increase in practical capacity. So
in case you can fill the lockers properly, in case you can use it.
And in the urban areas we are quite good at using it, but I think we depend on drivers and managers trying their best. They don't get a lot of help from people like me and the supply chain specialists sort of to plan their day. But they're really good at their job. But I think sort of the next step is giving them some support. I think we 2.5 hours for the best. I haven't looked at our best, but I think during peak we saw mean times of 7 or 8 hours. Sorry, not we saw the average at 24 hours or something like 23. We would see it at 18 or 19 hours during sort of, the good days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Friday night, people have better things to do than picking up their parcels, so it increases a bit. But I think we saw half of parcels picked up within 7 or 8 hours. And then we're doing almost nothing to tell people when they can expect their parcel delivered. We say something about it's between 2 and 4 in the afternoon or 3-hour time blocks, but probably we will be able to say we expect to deliver at 15:25, and then a lot more people will plan their day accordingly and then be disappointed if we miss it.
I think that this is exactly the area where AI is going to help logistics, because this is very personal calculation for every client, for every route, for every situation that is not possible manually and also with the traditional IT tools. So I really hope that this track and trace, so the progress reporting and the information flow to the customer, this is the task for the AI, that it can work well.
Yeah, and currently our mode here is scan to plan, sort of having a lot of different parcel streams on the same vans. We're not able to plan the routes 2 or 3 days ahead because we don't know which parcels are coming. So when they scan the parcels and load the van, you get a good route, and then when you have had the 2 first stops, you have a very good route.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can start communicating sort of more live in our apps and showing them where the car is. So I think that will drive the dwell times down even further. And we really need it in some of the areas.
Yeah, absolutely. But as you also mentioned, it's absolutely right that let's say in average 50% of the customers are quite quick, and then there is a long tail that can be really days and days, and there is things to improve on that. What else? Do you see any technological interesting improvements 2026 coming, or you are start using maybe?
I think we will use some sort of algorithm or AI for managing volumes to the parcel lockers. You can do that in perhaps 3 different ways. You can do a very deterministic way. You have expected volume, expected capacity available in all checkouts, so you can see when you expect to deliver. Then you have a understanding with the storage facility when you will pick up that parcel. And then you have routes that are changing perhaps only once a month. So you have a very controlled network. That is one way of sort of handling capacity. The other way, which we are using, is we'll do as good as we can, is what I would describe it. We take all parcels with us, and then you would handle the overflow then there, but you would also get the benefit of parcels being picked up during the route, and then you get more capacity when you're there. I think what we'll see is that I don't think will be able to sort of get a good grip on 35,000 checkouts, which is the current level we're working with. But I think we can get a grip on the volume and the capacity, and sort of spare the drivers for sort of the horrible volumes they sometimes get. So not being horrible I think that is our goal on the capacity management side. So if there are sort of massive overflow on a day or to a point, we would redirect that at the sorting terminal to a PUDO, which has a much more flexible capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Håvard. I think it has been extremely interesting discussion with you, and
Yes, thank you.
And I hope that this 2026 is going to be also very, very successful year for all of us, because I see that we are really growing, and out of home is getting bigger and bigger. So it has to be a good year for us.
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So thank you, and see you soon, probably in some events.
Yes, I hope so. Thank you for having me, Andre.